Elon Musk reveals surprising plan for his future wife as millionaire schemes like Donald Trump. The headline screamed from every screen after screen, lighting up the dark morning like fireworks. Elon Musk's jaw-dropping secret plan for his future wife exposed. They said he was scheming on an unbelievable level, comparing him to Donald Trump himself, slick, ruthless, and downright frightening. But nobody cared about Elon Musk. Not really. At least, not today. Because inside one of the busiest towers in downtown Los Angeles, a different kind of chaos was boiling under the shiny surface of the Mars Initiative headquarters. And right in the eye of that storm was Ethan Clark. Ethan moved fast, the click of his shoes echoing in the emptiness of the ultra-modern hallways. The walls gleamed steel and glass, gentle blue light pulsing from hidden LEDs, but none of it made the pressure on his chest any lighter. The stakes were astronomical. Mars wasn't just a dream, it was a man. Elena, the name alone twisted his stomach. The fierce, electric woman who'd crushed his ideas and his heart years ago. Everyone knew she was a rival, but no one really knew her secret. Ethan stopped, fingers trembling as he stared at the cold screen, showing the news expose. Helena's past, tangled with deceit and backroom deals, was leaking and threatening to pull the entire Mars project down. The primary funding source, gone. The lifeline to the Red Planet, snatched away by shadowy fingers pointing at Helena. He could feel the tension thickening behind the closed doors. Engineers whispered. Executives exchanged nervous glances. If this busts, one muttered, it's not just Mars that'll kill them, it's their careers. Ethan's mind raced. They needed answers. He wanted to confront Helena, to expose her, to claw back his edge. Yet the thought of her pulled a strange knot tight in his throat. Memories of late nights filled with laughter and competition. The spark of unspoken things that almost happened haunted him. The cold fight between them masked something raw, something fragile. His heart tightened. A sharp ping sounded his personal comm. An encrypted file just landed on his desk. Ethan hesitated before opening it. The dossier flickered to life, filled with photos, contracts, messages. And a truth so bad it made his fingers numb. What if Helena wasn't the enemy? What if the whole mission was a lie? His breath hitched. The future of humanity hinged not on rockets or steel, but on secrets buried deep. Too deep to ignore. The door behind snapped. Ethan spun around, heartbeat hammering like a freight train, but the hallway was empty. A chill swept through the building as the screen on his desk blinked again. Inside that cold folder lay a secret that could topple everything, or change everything. Could he trust Helena? Could he choose between ambition and what his heart begged for? Questions burned hotter than the sun, and the race to Mars suddenly felt more like a race for survival. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content that's coming. And since you're here, drop a powerful like. That really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and let me know in the comments, what city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Ethan's heart pounded like a drum, the air around him heavy with the weight of uncertainty. The dossier glowed ominously on his desk, each word echoing in his mind. Could it really be true? What if Helena wasn't the enemy? He felt dizzy. Panic clawed at his throat as the hallway loomed. He shot a glance at the door. Half expecting it to swing wide open, every tick of the clock felt louder, beating in sync with his racing pulse. Just then, the calm crackled to life again, a voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "Ethan, we need you in the conference room, now." It was Sarah, the project manager, her voice mixture of urgency and fear. Those words sent a jolt through him. He dashed down the corridor, barely registering the sleek, sterile decor around him. The smart lighting flickered as he passed, creating shadows that danced along the walls. The conference room buzzed with restless energy when he entered. Faces twisted in anxious glances. Amelia, one of the top engineers, appeared pale, eyes wide. Behind her, the giant screen displayed a live news feed, breaking news. An explosion at the main satellite facility. The reporter's voice crackled through the speakers, frantic and sharp. Initial reports suggest sabotage. Several injuries have been reported. Ethan's stomach dropped. No, this couldn't be happening. The pieces of the Mars project were already fraying. He grasped at the edges of reality as pressure built in his chest. The team exchanged frantic looks, but there was more. He could sense it. "I just got off the line with HR," Sarah said, her voice barely above a whisper. Helena was there. She didn't make it out. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. A shared gasp rippled through the room, eyes darting toward Ethan. Memories of their fierce rivalry, their complicated bond, flooded back. He felt a cold sweat trickle down his spine. "Ethan," Amelia said slowly, her voice trembling. "Aren't you working on a project with her? The funding?" Suddenly, the news anchor shifted, a new graphic flashing over the screen, mugshots of the suspected perpetrators. Ethan's blood ran cold as an image flickered into view, fiery eyes and a wicked grin. It was none other than Marcus, Helena's mercurial brother, the black sheep of the family with a history of criminal connections. His breath caught. This isn't just sabotage, this is personal. All the pieces started crashing together like a bad dream. Helena was tangled in something deeper, something dangerous. A thunderous crash reverberated through the building, rattling the windows, pulling his focus. The lights flickered violently, a moment of chaos amplifying panic. "Everyone stay calm," Sarah shouted, though her face betrayed her own fear. In that moment, a sharp realization cut through Ethan's confusion. What if the secret in the dossier wasn't the real truth? What if Helena hadn't just been a rival? What if she'd been the key to everything? The file was hiding something crucial, something far darker than he imagined. He rushed to the screen, heart racing. He had to find Helena, had to understand. But before he could think, a figure appeared in the doorway, a shadow among shadows. It was Helena's best friend, Claire, breathless and wild-eyed. "Ethan, you need to see this. There's something you don't know about Helena." With every word, the air shifted, thickening with unspoken truths. Ethan barely had time to process it. The world was spiraling. Trust and betrayal collided. and the fabric of everything he thought he knew was ripping apart. The race was no longer just for Mars. It was a race against time to uncover the truth before it devoured them all. Questions swirled in his mind. What would he discover next? What if everything he believed was a lie? Ethan's heart thundered in his chest as he stood frozen beside the desk, the screen flashing with revelations that rattled his very core. He felt the weight of each unanswered question pinning him down. Could he really trust her? Or was he about to hand the future of humanity into the hands of a woman who might be as dangerous as they said? His thoughts swirled until a sudden crash pierced the air, shaking the walls. The floor trembled beneath him, and then it hit. An alert blared from the ceiling. Emergency! He sprinted down the hallway, adrenaline surging, urgency fueling his steps. He passed bewildered engineers, faces etched with fear, glancing around for answers, their eyes wide like deer caught in headlights. "Ethan! Ethan!" a voice screamed from the conference room. It was Mark, the head engineer, waving frantically. He met Ethan at the door, breathless and panicked. "You have to see this!" Ethan pushed inside, his pulse racing. The gathered crowd formed a tight knot, a blend of confusion and dread. What could be so terrible? An adjacent screen lit up with red flashing words. "Intercepted communication. Threat level extreme." "What's happening?" Ethan demanded, his voice rising above the murmurs of disbelief. Mark nodded toward the screen. A distortion flickered, then settled on a grainy image of Helena, her expression cool and poised, surrounded by several shadowy figures. The sound quality was poor, but Ethan strained to hear. "The transfer will take place tonight. No one suspects a thing. The funding will be ours again, and Mars will rise." Chills wrapped around Ethan's spine. Could this be real? Was Helena orchestrating a covert operation right under their noses? But before he could process the implications, another voice crackled through the speakers, an unexpected, familiar voice. "Ethan, if only you could see what I see. It's all part of the plan. The Mars Initiative. We have to finish what we started. For the future." It was a voice from a lifetime ago. His heart sank as recognition washed over him. It was Victor, his old mentor, long believed missing, rumored dead in a failed mission years back. Ethan stumbled back, the room spinning. Victor had been more than a teacher. He was a father figure, and the shadows surrounding him were shrouded in betrayal. "Ethan, are you listening?" Helena's voice cut back in, sharper now. "We have a chance to take back control. You have no idea what's out there." The room erupted. Gasps echoed, voices rose in chaotic questions. Who was she working with? What did Victor mean? Ethan's world twisted into confusion. The mission for Mars no longer felt ambitious. It felt like a trap. Ethan's stomach churned. The air was thick with fear and uncertainty. Was his past intertwined with the disloyalty of Helena? Had Victor really orchestrated all this from the shadows? Yearnings to uncover the truth clashed with doubts sinking deeper. He glanced at the astonished faces around him. The emotions were raw, palpable. Mark looked haunted. Others were frozen in disbelief, grappling with a reality they'd never faced before. "Ethan, we need to act, Mark urged, desperation creeping into his voice. If she's involved with him, we're in danger. But danger felt like a distant echo. Right now, betrayal felt like the knife digging into his gut. Before he could respond, the lights flickered, a low hum vibrating through the building. And then, silence. Everything went dark. Panic surged like wildfire as whispers filled the void. In the pitch black, Ethan's mind raced. Relationships were shattered. Trust was weaponized. And the fate of Mars all hung dangerously in the balance. He took a deep breath, heart thundering. Was he ready to confront Helena? Was it too late? In the silence, new possibilities emerged, and so did new dangers. Ethan's breath caught in his throat as the darkness closed in. The emergency lights flickered on, casting a dim glow. Faces sharpened, confusion etched on each one, but panic shifted into something sharper, a sense of dread. "Stay calm," Sarah shouted again, but even her voice trembled. Ethan's heart drummed a relentless beat. What happened next shattered everything. A loud crash jolted their attention. The door burst open. A figure stood silhouetted against the emergency lights. Claire. But something was off. Her hands trembled, cupping something close to her chest. Claire? Ethan felt an icy twist in his gut. What is it? As she stumbled forward, something shiny slipped from her grip, rolling across the floor. A sharp gasp surged through the crowd. It was a small, metallic device. Ethan's eyes narrowed. A bomb? Fear rippled through the room. No, this isn't happening, he yelled, fists clenched. Instinct propelled him forward. But Claire's voice rang out, louder than the chaos. No, Ethan, you don't understand. Her eyes, wide and frantic, caught him. This was planted. This is bigger than you think. What do you mean? Panic seared through him. Who did this? In a heartbeat, she crushed the silence. Helena! The word hung heavy in the air, a bitter accusation. She's not who you think she is. None of this is what it seems. Every breath felt like a lead weight. Ethan's mind spun. What do you mean? His stomach flipped. Names, faces, relationships all seemed to spin. What does she have to do with this? It's a cover-up, Claire shouted, her voice trembling with urgency. Helena's been working with Marcus. They want to take control of Mars. They need something from you to make it all work. The entire room erupted into chaos. Murmurs turned into shouts. Fists balled up in anger and fear. Ethan's heart raced. Claire, stop! Were you in on this too? Her expression fractured, deep hurt flashing across her face. I thought I was protecting you. She was going to use you for this mission. You meant nothing more than a pawn. No, this couldn't be true. But we worked together, he stammered. Memories of late nights, hunched over schematics, flooded back. Laughter in the break room, talks of the future. All of it was real. It was all a game to her. Claire cried. Listen closely. If she's involved, we're all in danger. Before he could respond, the lights crashed back into darkness. And then a shattering sound, deep and resonant, echoed through the corridors. A scream cut through the chaos. Someone was down. Ethan! Sarah shouted, her voice laced with terror. Ethan glanced around. The room spun, and people scrambled for answers. Then it hit him. A slip of paper, fluttering like a leaf caught in a storm. He snatched it up. The message glimmered under the emergency lights. Trust no one. Not even Claire. His heart sank. Doubt clawed at him. Was this part of it? Had Claire been playing him all along? No, he muttered, glancing between her and the others. Desperation twisted in his gut. The walls felt like they were closing in. Claire stepped back, eyes wide. "Ethan, listen." But her words fell into the howling chaos around them. "What do we do?" Amelia asked, her voice cracking. He looked at the faces surrounding him. Fear etched deep. Tension hung in the air like a thick fog. One mistake could take them down. And yet, uncertainty screamed louder than the chaos. And then, a low rumble shook the very ground beneath them. The building trembled. Ethan could feel it in his bones. "Get out!" he yelled, trying to rally them. But panic had taken hold. As he turned, Claire grabbed his arm, desperation in her eyes. "We need to stick together. You have to believe me." The room erupted once more. Trust hung by a thread. Everything felt like a lie. He had to choose. Who to trust in the storm? Was it worth the risk? And then the walls echoed a final message. The truth will change everything. Ethan's heart raced. Now the stakes were higher than ever. Would he uncover the real plot behind Mars, or would he be lost in the web of deceit? The shadows of possibility loomed ominously. What was coming next? He had to find out. Ethan stood frozen, the screen brightening his face like a lighthouse in a storm. The encrypted file was pulsating with secrets. His heart raced as he considered the momentous choice before him. Pursue the truth or guard his heart. But before he could think, the air changed. A violent tremor shook the floor beneath him. Books rattled on shelves. Papers swirled like autumn leaves. The walls creaked. And then, without warning, a deafening shout echoed down the hall. "Evacuate! Now!" Ethan's heart slammed against his ribcage. Panic spread like wildfire. Shadows darted past him as chaos erupted. The vibrant lighting flickered like it was alive with a heartbeat of its own. A shrill alarm blared overhead, drowning out every thought. He bolted down the hall, adrenaline igniting his limbs. The blazing light outside beckoned. Escape was everything. But as he reached the stairwell, he collided with a frantic figure rushing up. It was Helena. "Ethan!" she gasped, her eyes wide with fear. "They're coming! We need to get out!" "Who's coming?" His voice cracked, the question hanging in the air as fear twisted his gut. "The board!" Her breath came in short gasps. "They're going to shut it all down. They have proof of everything, about us, about Mars." Panic twisted tighter in Ethan's chest. "What do you mean, proof? What did you do?" "I didn't," she started, but her words caught in her throat as she backed away, pressing against the wall. The lights flickered again, casting long shadows, warping their faces. Sirens blared louder, and the floor shook once more. But this time, it wasn't just nerves playing tricks. There was a tremor underneath. It felt like the foundation of everything was ready to crumble. Ethan glanced back at the screen on his desk, silent now, a grave witness. In that moment, a deafening crash echoed through the hall. The doors burst open. revealing a group of suited men, faces stern, eyes cold as steel. They stormed inside, each step heavy with authority. "Ethan Clark, Helena Grant," one shouted, voice booming. "You're under investigation for embezzlement and corporate sabotage." Ethan's pulse thundered in his ears. Embezzlement? Corporate sabotage? The words felt like lead weights. He looked to Helena, searching for answers in her frantic gaze. "It's not," she started again, but the gravity of the situation loomed too large. Suddenly, a figure stepped forward out of the shadows. It was Elena Reyes, the lead investigator. Someone who always played her cards close to her chest. Her eyes were sharp, her smile a predatory grin. "I'm sorry to interrupt," she declared, her voice dripping with mockery. "But you've both been part of something far bigger than you know. And the secrets don't just end here." Ethan's stomach dropped. The truth twisted and turned like a knife. "What do you know?" he demanded, his voice breaking. Elena leaned in, almost conspiratorial. "Let's just say the landing on Mars isn't just about exploration. It's about control. Your precious project is a cover. You're both in way over your heads, and now it's time for the truth to come out." The walls felt as if they were closing in. Helena's eyes went wide, realization dawning, mirroring the panic in Ethan's heart. Ethan wanted to scream. Everything he believed shattered into pieces as dread settled like a heavy fog. Trust? What trust? It felt like betrayal seeped into every corner, every memory shared. As the men moved toward them, Ethan couldn't help but wonder just how deep the betrayal ran. Could Helena be a player in a game bigger than either of them ever imagined? Could he ever really know who she was? Time froze, and the room hummed with tension. The future of Mars. No, their very futures hung in the balance, and for the first time, Ethan realized he might lose it all, including Helena. Ethan froze, fingers hovering above the glowing screen. Every instinct screamed for urgency, but now all he felt was a suffocating weight of dread. The building felt like it was closing in, every flurry of movement outside the sterile walls echoing the chaos in his mind. Could he plunge into this labyrinth of secrets, knowing it could all blow up in his face? He blinked hard, trying to shake the haze from his thoughts. Just then, the door swung open. His heart dropped. Helena stood there, eyes wide like firecrackers, face pale as a ghost. Then, a shuddering breath escaped her lips that hung heavy in the air. "Ethan," she whispered fiercely, urgency coating each syllable. The world faded around them. "We need to talk. It's happening." "What are you talking about?" he shot back, frustration mingling with confusion. "You're the reason the project is—" "No!" Helena interrupted, stepping closer, the vibe shifting. "You don't understand. This goes deeper than you think. They're coming for everything, and for you too." His stomach dropped even further, doubt twisting in his gut. "What do you mean?" He could barely find his voice, heart pounding. Adrenaline on fire. With trembling hands, she pulled out a small device, sleek and unfamiliar. This is for you. I was going to give it to you, but time's running out. It contains everything. The truth about us. About them." Helena looked around, panic flaring in her eyes, as if someone might leap out from the shadows. "Helena, what the hell? Just tell me." Panic edged into his tone now, his body vibrating with urgency. With a deep breath, she hit a button. the screen illuminating her face, showing a series of documents and video clips. Ethan squinted, trying to absorb the fast-moving images. Then his stomach twisted violently. It was a board meeting, a video from months ago. There they were, Helena, sitting calmly, laughing with the executives. And then, there he was too, stretched across the screen, carefree, laughing at a joke, unaware. He felt sick as the next clip rolled. Helena's voice layered over the frantic footage. "This is our ticket. We'll leave them with nothing and take Mars for ourselves." "What?" His voice trailed off, disbelief weighing heavy on him. "Why would you betrayed me?" "Ethan, you don't understand. It's not what you think." Her sharp retort cut through his confusion, but her eyes glistened with unshed tears. "You've got to listen. They were going to shut the whole project down. It wasn't my plan. I was trying to save it, to save us." Every fiber of his being screamed that he couldn't trust her. Yet he felt a flicker of something else in the pit of his stomach. A desperate hope clashing with an overwhelming fury. Before he could process the implication, silence shattered around them. An alarm blared. Red lights flashed, frantically pulsating, signaling chaos. The comm system crackled, urgent voices overlaying each other. "Security breach in Sector 5, lockdown initiated." Panic surged through Ethan's veins. "What did you do?" He turned sharply, adrenaline pumping. The whispers around them twisted, murmurs of betrayal curling the edges of the air. "I didn't do anything," she shouted over the clamor, grasping his arm, panic lacing her voice. "They're after the both of us. You have to believe me. Now we have to go. Right now." Ethan's heart raced, not just from fear, but a wild, swirling confusion. He could feel the weight of Helena's secret pressing down, threatening to crush everything they had built, everything he thought he knew. As they turned to escape, a blast echoed through the halls. The floor shook, and the lights flickered before plunging into darkness. A single scream pierced the air, and in that moment, everything shifted. Ethan grasped Helena's hand, an electric connection coursing between them, yet doubts gnawed at him. What was real? What was deception? In front of them, the shadows twisted, and from the darkness emerged someone, an unknown figure. A voice boomed, cutting through the chaos. "You don't know what you've done, and neither do you!" Ethan's heart froze, trapped in a sudden tempest of uncertainty. The lines of truth and lies blurred, and as the figure stepped into the light, his world twisted again. Before he could voice a question, before he could react, one devastating truth hung in the air, heavy as a meteor. "You both have no idea what we've set in motion." And just like that, everything he thought was clear plunged into a suffocating shadow. Ethan stared at the screen, the cold light illuminating his face. What was this? Confusion twisted in his gut. He needed answers, and he needed them fast. The future of Mars and his career depended on him navigating this maze of betrayal and buried secrets. He took a deep breath, mind racing, when suddenly an unexpected sound echoed through the hollow corridor. A loud bang resonated from the direction of the boardroom. Ethan's heart leaped into his throat. Was it just a door slamming? He quickly moved toward the sound, each step heavy with dread. As he approached the glass doors, voices snatched his attention. "You can't do this!" a man shouted, his voice cracking. "Watch me!" Helena's voice rang out, sharper than an ice pick, filled with desperation and anger. Ethan's pulse quickened. He pressed closer, practically flattening himself against the cool glass. Inside, the team was in chaos. He caught glimpses of panicked faces and frantic gestures. Then, the unimaginable happened. The boardroom door swung open, nearly hitting him. In a flash, he saw Helena. Her expression was wild, eyes wide with fury. She stormed past him, nearly brushing shoulders. Behind her, a man he didn't recognize, a big, imposing figure with a hard glare, followed, muttering something inaudible but threatening. "What's going on?" Ethan asked, catching her arm before she disappeared down the hall. "Let go of me," she snapped, pulling away. But something in her voice turned his stomach. Fear? No, it was more than that. "Helena, you have to tell me." "Not now," she hissed, glancing back. "You don't understand what's at stake." "Then explain," he pressed, desperation seeping into his voice. She looked torn, like she wanted to share, yet something held her back. Just then, the door to the boardroom banged open again, and the man stormed out, his face dark with rage. "You think you can run from the truth, Helena?" he bellowed, eyes locked on her. "You can't hide what you are forever." The words hung in the air, electric and chilling. Ethan felt a hollow ache in his chest. What did he mean? Before he had time to voice his questions, the man lunged forward, grabbing Helena and shoving her against the wall. "Get off her!" Ethan shouted, adrenaline flooding his system. He charged forward, fists clenched. But right then, something shattered inside the room. A glass panel cracked, sounding like a gunshot, and all eyes turned to see shards falling like rain. The loud clang brought all attention back to the center, where Helena stood, eyes blazing with fury, mixed with something deeper. Pain? Fear? "It's over!" the man snarled, his breath heavy, as Helena struggled against his grip. Ethan felt the world tilt. A million thoughts exploded in his brain. He had to save her. He wasn't just fighting for Mars anymore. He was fighting for Helena. As he reached to intervene, a flash of light erupted from Helena's wrist. She had activated some kind of device. A pulse of energy shot through the room, knocking everyone off balance. The walls flickered as a hologram materialized above them. It displayed data, numbers, graphs, revealing the true purpose of the Mars Initiative, and it wasn't what anyone expected. His knees nearly buckled. The truth was bigger and darker than he imagined. The revelation threatened to swallow him whole. "Why didn't you tell us?" Ethan's voice trembled, heart racing as he took a shaky step back. "What have you done, Helena?" The man released her in shock, backing away as silence fell over the chaotic scene. Helena turned to Ethan, a torn look in her eyes, the weight of countless secrets reflected in her face. "Because the truth isn't what you think it is, Ethan, and it's about to change everything." Ethan's breath caught. The gravity of her words twisted his stomach into knots. Reality shattered around him, leaving only questions frantically racing in his mind. What had he just stumbled into? What was the true mission? And who had really been pulling the strings all along? Nothing felt certain anymore. The stakes were higher than he could comprehend, and the race to Mars suddenly blurred into a fight for something much larger than all of them. Ethan's breath caught. The gravity of Helena's revelation threatened to crush him. Tension hung thick in the air, heartbeats echoing like a drum. He fought the urge to retreat, but something deep inside him screamed for action. "Helena, what are you saying?" he demanded, inching closer, his heart racing in sync with the glowing screen. "What does this mean for the Mars Initiative?" But before she could answer, everything changed. A violent explosion rocked the building, shaking the very core with a bone-rattling force. The lights flickered and then went out entirely, plunging them into darkness. Heart racing, Ethan blurted out, "What was that?" "Get down!" Helena shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos. The ground trembled, furniture shifted, the air filled with the acrid scent of smoke. Ethan ducked instinctively, adrenaline hijacking his senses. He gripped the edge of the table, trying to steady himself, every ounce of his being screaming to protect Helena. But when he looked up, the room had changed. Amid the chaos, a sudden surge of light burst forth, illuminating the space. But what Ethan saw sent a harsh chill down his spine. The imposing figure of the man who had threatened Helena stood at the center, unharmed, a sinister grin on his face. But it wasn't just him. No, there were others, men in dark suits, armed, their presence electric with menace. "Did you really think you could betray us and walk away?" The man laughed, his voice rolling like thunder. Ethan's blood ran cold. Betrayal? Helena? The question hung heavy. He looked at her face, searching for answers. But her eyes were wide with shock, reflecting pain and confusion. "I didn't betray anyone!" Helena shouted, trying to push past the panic. But the fear in her voice told Ethan everything he needed to know. It was all unraveling. "Then you're even more foolish than I thought," the man sneered, gesturing to his companions. "You thought you could play both sides. You should have known better." Ethan felt the walls closing in, the room getting smaller, choking him with tension. But before he could react, a blinding flash erupted near the men. Then came a deafening crash that drowned out every sound, followed by an explosion that sent the group's bodies flying. Ethan shielded his face as debris rained down, a storm of smoke and confusion. The chaotic world slowed for a heartbeat. And for a fleeting moment, he thought they might actually survive this chaos. Then, out of the cloud of dust, a figure emerged. It was Claire, her eyes blazing like a comet, the same device that Helena had activated, now glowing ominously in her hand. "Stop!" she shouted, her voice firm and commanding. "You don't understand what's at stake." As the smoke cleared, Ethan's heart dropped. Claire was no longer the ally he thought he knew. The device in her hand pulsed with energy, casting eerie shadows across her face. "What is this?" Helena gasped, stepping back, her voice barely above a whisper. "Claire, what are you doing?" "It's not just about Mars," Claire responded, her voice cutting through the tension like a knife. "It never was. You both don't even realize you're just pawns in a much bigger game." "Claire, this isn't the time," Ethan shouted in disbelief. But Claire's expression hardened, a veil dropping over her features. "The truth is, I've been working with them, with the board. I'm the one who initiated the project to transfer control. And now, it's time for payback. Time froze, shock coursing through Ethan's veins. He felt sick. All this time, trusting her had been a mistake. The crushing weight of betrayal shattered him. As the reality set in, Claire raised the device, its glow intensifying. "You're too deep in this, and I can't let you ruin everything we've built. I trusted you, but now it's time for you to feel what it means to be expendable." Protest rose in Ethan's throat, but before he could speak, Claire pressed the button. A brilliant flash exploded like a supernova, engulfing everything in radiant light. The world spun, colors blending into a blizzard of chaos. When the light finally faded, Ethan blinked, heart hammering in his chest. But the boardroom was gone. Instead, they stood in a vast, empty void. An abyss without edges, where reality felt like a distant memory. Ethan's world collapsed in upon itself. Was this a trick? A nightmare? He turned to find Helena beside him, fear etching her features. But Claire? Claire was nowhere to be seen, leaving only an unsettling echo of her betrayal behind. The silence hung, thick, suffocating. Somewhere in that endless darkness, Ethan understood one thing. Everything he knew had been ripped away. And the mission to Mars? It was only the beginning of something much larger and more dangerous than he could ever have imagined. He looked at Helena, their eyes locking. They were now trapped in a nightmare woven by unseen hands, and the true stakes of their reality loomed larger than anything they could have ever fathomed. The race wasn't just for Mars anymore. It was a fight for their very souls. Ethan blinked. Against the fading light, the shadows of the void now mingling with the echoes of Claire's betrayal. Fear gripped his chest as he looked at Helena, uncertainty twisting them both into knots. The world around them felt like it was falling apart. And yet here they stood, suspended in a reality that seemed unreal. In that silence, something shifted. The air thickened, heavy with potential, like the moment before a storm. Ethan could feel it in his bones, an electric tension swirling. "Helena?" he started, but his voice cracked, uncertainty crawling up his spine, the weight of all that had happened. She opened her mouth, words clinging on the edge, but all at once, a crackling sound pierced through the air, slicing the tension. Then, without warning, another figure emerged from the darkness. A tall silhouette, obscured, but intimidating. "Not so fast," the figure boomed, voice gravelly, filled with authority. Every instinct screamed for Ethan to retreat, but his feet felt glued to the ground. As the figure stepped into view, recognition crashed over Ethan like icy water. It was Marcus, Helena's brother, his eyes glinting dangerously. "You thought you could escape? You thought you were free from this game?" Panic surged through Ethan. "Marcus? What was he doing here?" "You can't be serious," Ethan muttered, eyes narrowing. "You're the last person I want to see." But Marcus ignored him, his gaze locked on Helena. "You think you're so clever, don't you? You thought you could play both sides." He took a step forward, looming like a dark cloud. "Marcus, stop! Helena shouted, desperation lacing her voice. "You don't know what you're doing. This isn't your game anymore." But instead of retreating, Marcus chuckled, a low, eerie sound that sent chills down Ethan's spine. "Oh, but it is. You've both been too naive to see the truth. This," he waved his hand dramatically, "is only the beginning." The air shifted again, a crackle of energy, as if the very fabric of reality was shifting. Suddenly, in a searing flash, a new image materialized in the void, a massive, holographic projection of the boardroom. But everything was wrong. The furniture warped, the people distorted, and at the center stood a figure cloaked in darkness. "Hello, Ethan. Hello, Helena." The voice slithered out, smooth and insidious. "Welcome to the real game." Ethan's heart lurched as the figure chuckled, gasping for air as the truth unfolded. Victor? It was impossible. His mentor, gone for years, now materializing as some omniscient puppeteer. Surprised? Victor smirked, his shadowy presence filled with power. "All those years you thought you were chasing dreams on Mars? Innocent little pawns. The truth is, the whole project? My design." He laughed softly, a sound that felt like ice scraping against steel. I never believed you were behind this," Ethan stammered, a knot forming deep in his gut. "Of course you didn't. It's the perfect cover. The mission, the excitement, it's all mine." Victor's gaze sharpened now, piercing through the darkness. "You have to understand, everyone has a role to play." Ethan shook his head. "And Helena, she's part of this too?" "She was." Victor's tone turned cold. "But now she's expendable. Both of you are." Ethan's heart dropped. He felt trapped, exposed. Was Helena working with Victor the whole time? Were they all just pieces of a game he couldn't see? Tension crackled, silence falling thick as reality burned in a blaze of uncertainty. Was any of it real? He looked to Helena, her expression torn between fear and anger. Before he could question further, the ground beneath them shuddered violently. The color of the dark void shifted, swirling into hues of red and black, like the birth of a sinister storm. And then everything erupted. A blinding light surged from Victor, washing over them like a tidal wave. In that moment, Ethan's world turned upside down. An explosion ripped through the space. Pain seared his body as everything turned to chaos. When the dust settled, chaos replaced confrontation. The void had transformed into a violent landscape, dominated by a shattered foundation. Bodies blurred and broken lay strewn across what had once been a battlefield of secrets. An unsettling silence reigned once more, and in that stillness, Ethan sensed it. The truth blurred, relationships twisted, but something else hung in the air. A revelation as dark as a black hole, hidden deep within the ashes of what had been. "Ethan!" A whisper floated through the wreckage. He turned. Helena lay motionless, eyes filled with fear. But it wasn't a plea for help she voiced. It was a warning. "The truth is worse than anything you can imagine." Ethan's heart raced. What had just happened? An entire world had shifted, and he was at the center of it. What lay ahead felt more treacherous than they could ever have foreseen. Ethan's heart raced as he rushed to where Helena lay. The chaos in the void around them faded into a hollow silence, deeper than he ever felt. He knelt beside her, shaking her gently. "Helena, wake up, please!" Her eyes fluttered open, and pain etched across her face. "Ethan, I'm sorry. I never wanted this," she gasped, grappling with the weight of her regrets. "None of this is your fault." He squeezed her hand, trying to offer her strength. "We'll find a way out of here, together." But her gaze shifted to where Victor stood, a shadow looming over them. "You don't understand. He's too powerful. He's always been." Her voice faltered, jagged like the shattered landscape around them. Victor chuckled darkly, the sound echoing ominously. "Together? How adorable. You think that'll save you? It's too late for that now. The truth has unraveled, and you're both just bits of lint in my web." Ethan glared at Victor, a simmering rage boiling inside him. "You won't get away with this. You may control this space, but you don't control us." "But I do," Victor replied, eyes glinting with malice. "This illusion? It's the end of your dreams. No Mars for you. Just oblivion." Helena struggled to rise but winced. "Ethan, we need to break the illusion. If we can, fight back." "Then let's do it," he urged. "We're not just losing hope here. We are more powerful than he thinks." With a sudden burst of determination, Ethan closed his eyes, focusing. It was like reaching deep down into the core of himself and feeling a flicker of energy ignite. He took Helena's hand, squeezing it tighter. "Feel it, Helena. We can be stronger than him. Trust me." The ground shifted as they concentrated. A pulse of light radiated from their joined hands, illuminating the darkness around them. The energy coursed through them, growing brighter as they poured their will into breaking Victor's control. "No, this can't be!" Victor bellowed, scrambling backward as the light engulfed the void. Ethan's heart thundered in his chest. "Let's finish this together." At that moment, the void shattered, bursts of light exploding like fireworks. All at once, brightly colored sparks streamed around them, distorting Victor's looming shadow. He snarled and vanished, swallowed by the brilliance. Ethan and Helena fell to the ground, breathless. They found themselves back in the boardroom, surrounded by stunned faces. The air was thick with confusion. "Is it over?" one engineer whispered, glancing around. "Did we win?" another added, eyes darting between Ethan and Helena. "We will figure this out," Ethan promised, rising slowly. He turned to Helena, who looked exhausted, but also relieved. "You and we can still make Mars a reality, together." But the tension hung thick. Could they trust each other again after everything that happened? "Ethan," she said softly, as if sensing his doubts. "I mean it this time. No secrets." He nodded, a flicker of hope igniting. But as they turned to look at the gathered team, a shudder rippled through the building, a reminder that there were still shadows lurking in the corners. Ethan took a deep breath, vision clearer. This was not an ending, but a new chapter. They had faced darkness, but survived. Would it be easy? No. But together, they could face anything. As they stepped forward, the reactor's core hummed to life behind them, promising new beginnings. "Let's get to work," Ethan declared, feeling the surge of purpose wash over him, joined by the warmth of Helena's presence at his side. And they began to walk, filled with determination. But the distant sound of sirens cut through the atmosphere, a reminder that danger was never far behind. And the question lingered. Who else was waiting in the shadows? This isn't the end, it's just the beginning. Now, before the next wave of stories hits, you have to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss a single twist in this saga. Smash that like button now to keep us alive in the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what just happened. I want to hear all of your thoughts. And don't wait even a second longer to share this video. Send it out to at least 5 friends who need to see this.